Felicitous greetings, fellow Fanatics.
Welcome back, one and all. I'm Adam the Fanatic, and today we're taking a look at Gust of Wind, a stealth title by Wrenchpunk Games. Wait a minute, that's not the right title. Okay, there we go, much better. Please bear in mind that this is a preview based off of an early access title. As such, nothing is finalized, and anything seen herein is subject to change. In Gust of Wind, you'll take on the role of Cole, a shadelurker that serves the land of Hollow Cliff under the command of Captain Beak. Shadelurkers are effectively scouts, meant to slip into dangerous locales, make as little a ruckus as possible, and then slip back out without a trace. Hollow Cliff and the surrounding territories have been under assault by a warlord known as Baraga and his army, simply known by the scarves that they wear. Your first mission is to investigate the Seashell, a small vessel that's been captured by the Scarves, and prepare its captured crew to retake the ship. Before you even get into the action, you'll find yourself using a rowboat to approach the Seashell. It controls simply enough using the standard ASDW keys to move, though you'll notice that the rolling of the waves does disrupt the movement in realistic fashion, so you may need to correct course at times rather than just holding forward. The next thing that you'll notice is that you have a lot of freedom in climbing ropes, and since you'll be dealing with a lot of ships and sails in the game, this will be essential for scouting your path when boarding an enemy vessel. Gust of Wind encourages the player to be quiet and go about their missions with as little fanfare as possible, but if necessary, you can get into a fight with the Scarves. Melee combat is not the focus of the game, and thus not meant to be where it shines, but you can use your fists or a number of other weapons, such as wrenches, axes, and pipes to increase your damage. However, a far better option is generally to sneak up on your foes and strangle them until they pass out. As long as no one spots Cole, this will allow him to silently incapacitate a foe. Enemies that have been knocked unconscious can be revived by other Scarves, so make sure that you don't leave them somewhere that they'll easily be seen. You're also supposed to be able to do a drop attack where you jump from above an enemy and land on top of them, but I was never able to get this to work. That being said, it wasn't necessary. I was still able to do all the sections on deck without being spotted, but I simply could never land on them properly. As you go about your tasks, you'll need to use both sound and shadow to your advantage. If you toss a heavy object, it can momentarily distract a foe, so long as they don't see where you threw it from. When you're in the shadows, you're harder to spot, but it's also harder to see, so you have to weigh the option of when it's best to remain in complete darkness and when it's better to carry a torch or lantern to light your path. Considering that you'll be spending much of your journey below decks or inside of tunnels, this can be an important decision to make. You'll also be able to choose to open doors either slowly or quickly. Since most of these are the sort meant to seal bulkheads, moving fast makes a lot of noise. And of course, getting into a fight alerts any nearby foes to come to their aid, so the direct approach is rarely wise if you want to survive. It is a stealth game after all. But of course, your main goal isn't to fight anyways. Rather, you'll often be trying to avoid confrontation as you look for important notes, seek keys to open doors. Sometimes, you'll even slip weapons to prisoners or even prepare a bomb to sink a vessel. But giving the player numerous ways to approach the same situation is what Gust of Wind does best. If you want to go gung-ho and engage every enemy you come across in a fight to the death, that is an option, though you'll need to make sure you find plenty of fish in order to heal up. Presentation-wise, the game is pretty interesting. It is rather hardware intensive for an indie game, although it should be noted that the devs are working on performance improvements to bring this down. That being said, aside from the adult wingless sailor seagulls, the graphics have a gritty, realistic look to them, with a heavy emphasis on playing with the lighting. It actually looks pretty impressive in motion, though I'm sure that by the time you reach this point in the review, the darker scenes are going to look somewhat off due to compression artifacts. This does not happen in-game. Meanwhile, the story takes itself surprisingly seriously. Without going into too much detail, it's not long until you find that Mordecai, the captain of the Seashell, is not exactly trustworthy, and his crew's capture, while not orchestrated by him, is largely his own fault. Meanwhile, you'll hear of defectors, traitors, executions. Don't let the talking birds fool you, this is a pretty dark game thematically as well as visually. On another note, as you can already see, you are given the option to switch between third and first person. When dealing with tight corridors, the game defaults to first person view, though you can freely switch between the two as you see fit in any situation. All in all, Gust of Wind is a diamond in the rough. It has some good ideas, and for the most part, has solid execution. But it is pretty buggy at this point, and the enemy AI does need some work. And while they are already in the middle of working on it, performance optimizations are definitely needed. That being said, it does show promise. Even with only 3 levels to play thus far, Gust of Wind introduces us to an interesting variety of locales and has set things up for an intriguing story. It definitely needs some elbow grease. The game is far from perfect, but it seems to be on the right track. Last time I looked at a nautically themed stealth game, I said wait and see as a word of warning. But this time I can say the same thing as hope of seeing something great come to fruition. It isn't there yet, but if you enjoy titles like Mark of the Ninja or Deus Ex, definitely keep this one on your radar. As this is an early access title, I'll not be giving Gust of Wind a formal review score at this time. What I can say is that it's a unique take on familiar concepts, and I look forward to seeing where its voyage takes it from here. Gust of Wind is currently available for PC via Steam's Early Access program. If you're interested in purchasing or learning more, links are included in the description. But what about you? What do you think of Gust of Wind? What stealth titles do you enjoy? If you have any questions, remarks, or opposing points of view, leave them in the comments down below. And don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and ring that bell. And if you really enjoy my work, please consider funding my channel on Patreon. Until next time, farewell, fellow fanatics. Thank you again for watching. I have plenty more to share with you if you're interested. You can click up here above my head to subscribe to my channel. You can click over here on my monitor to see the most recent video that I've worked on. Or if you prefer, you can click up here to open this mysterious vault and see what video that the YouTube algorithm has picked just for you.